I'm ready to go, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead.
Casey Smith lied, and Todd Ecker died. This is a case that involves one of the most unnatural experiences that a parent could ever have to endure and go through. It involves having to bury someone that you watched growing up. It involves having to think about how this accident happened. It has to do with how to relive in your mind, day by day, night by night, what happened in the last couple seconds of their lives. And they were taken from you. They were taken from you as a result of someone else's negligence. This is one of the most horrific accidents any person would have to endure. Watch your child turn towards a train, trapped in a steel cage, and then watch the car crumbles up, the wreckage sparked up against the rail track. And in the smell of gasoline, the air smells of steel sparks, of burnt paint, of burnt flesh, and of carnage. This child was partially ejected from the car and dragged by the rail for just short of a mile and killed. A father has lost his son, and a sister has lost her big brother because of whom? Because of this defendant sitting right here. Because of this woman's negligence, this used car saleswoman put up false advertising. She cheated and she lied to the young children's parents. Todd Ecker died as a result of the lie and deceitfulness. And Todd Ecker died because this defective car stalled on the railroad, because this car turned into a steel cage and this car trapped him inside and killed him. Now, Sam Ecker, the father, he managed to save his youngest daughter, but not his oldest son. This defendant's action killed Mr. Ecker's son. And that is what we have proved here today. If you find, based on the evidence and witness testimony presented today, that there is a greater than 50% likelihood that the defendant caused the death of Todd, then you must find the defendant liable for the death of Todd Ecker. To prove the negligent wrongful death claim, we told you in our opening statement that we are going to prove 2 points. Number one, Casey Smith sold the Eckers the car that he knew had issues. And number one, Casey Smith sold a faulty car to Eckers. Second point, this car, Casey Smith has sold them, caused Todd Eckers' death. Now, on the first point, Casey Smith sold Ms. Eckers a defective car. As you can see in this poster states that this car is in perfect condition. This car just passed a thorough inspection. There is no accident, there is no issue with this car, and it is ready to be used. What Casey did not tell the Eckers is, despite the fact that this car was fully inspected, Casey and the inspector were convicted felons. What Casey did not tell Eckers is that this inspector that gave this thorough inspection never once in his 12-year career as a used car saleswoman told her to repair her cars. And this inspector always passed all her cars for inspection. As a matter of fact, you have heard the defendant admit that the inspector sometimes tells the defendant to sell as soon as possible. You may take this down now. What Casey did not tell Eckes is this, that the car has problems. What Casey didn't, not only did he covered up these defects, he also dug Mr. Eckes' cause. You just heard him testify to you that right after the sale, he blocked Eckes' number. He's sitting at home comfortably, not in his office, not in his dealership, not in his mechanic shop. He's sitting at home comfortably when people who got defective cars from him are having problems, when people are stranded on the roads, when people are stopped at red light, stopped at green light, when people are stalled on the train tracks, and you have heard the defendant testify, she is sitting at home and seeing the call come up on her phone, knowing it is the customer, and not answer them. On the second point, this defective car caused the death of Todd Eckes. You have heard from Mr. Sam Eckes, that this car stalled on the train track. You have heard Mr. Sam Eckes testify to you that Todd was killed by this train ramming the car, and you have heard testimony that Sam Eckes testified the last thing she saw of his child, is his child facing the car and trapped in the steel cage. Little Todd will still be with us today. Little Todd will be sitting over there on the floor and playing with his dinosaur toy. If this defective car was never sold to the Eckes, if this defect was disclosed to the Eckes, if Miss Casey Smith did not decide to cover up these defects, this accident would not happen but for Miss Casey Smith's actions. Furthermore, as a used car salesman, like she just testified to you, it is foreseeable, she can predict, it is foreseeable that she knew, just testified to you that she knew it is highly possible that a defective car could stall on the road, and these stalls will cause accidents. Now, the defense has just told you that Sam Eckes should pay more attention. The defense just told you that it is Sam Eckes is liable for this accident, is negligent for this accident. But you have heard from Mr. Sam Eckes that he did everything reasonable for that situation. He had 2 children under his care, one 2-year-old, the other in the child safety seat, the other 7-year-old. He did his very best to save the younger child. And as a reasonable person, she was horrified by the train crash, but yet she still retreated to safety. And when she turned back, she simply does not have time to save the 7-year-old Todd. Remember, the accident happened because the car broke down, and Mr. Eckes did everything reasonable to save her children. Secondly, you have heard the defense tell you in the opening statement that we do not know, I quote, "We don't know what is wrong with the car." Think about it. The defense has just told you that we do not know what has happened with the car. Now, who has the opportunity to examine this car? Who has the opportunity to inspect this car? Miss Casey Smith. She had this car in her possession, and Miss Tyler Hernandez inspected this car. What Sam Eckes did is she trusted the experts. She trusted the salesman. Should the salesman be trusted? You have just heard with your own ears 20 minutes ago that defendant made a false statement on the stand. Totally opposite statement from what she said only 5 minutes ago. With these facts and testimony, if you believe that it is more likely than not that the defendant's negligent actions caused the death of Todd Ecker, then you must find the defendant fully liable for the death of this child, and you must find for the plaintiff. Thank you.